Remember what I said about the Golf R in a previous video? What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the ultimate Golf you can buy. The Golf R. Scratch that remark. This is the fast Golf that you wanna buy. So in today's video, I'm gonna tell you why that is and why this car is a better purchase than the Golf R. But first, let me show you around the Clubsport. And mind you, this is not a regular Clubsport model, it's the 45-year anniversary one. So first off, the Clubsport features a more sportier and bigger front bumper with more air intakes, flared side skirts and a bigger rear wing compared to the GTI. It sits 15 millimeters lower. It has more negative camber on the front, new control arm mounts on the rear, plus a new calibration for the power steering. And unlike the standard GTI, this car's electronically controlled limited slip differential at the front works in conjunction with this car's driving modes and will change the way it works based on what mode you're in. The front brakes are bigger and under the bonnet you find the same engine as in the standard GTI, but power is up by 50 horsepower to a total of 300. In the middle sits the well-known by now 7-speed DSG transmission. There's no manual option for this car, I'm afraid, and all the power goes to the front wheels. Now on top of all of this, the 45-year anniversary adds these 19-inch gloss black alloy wheels with a red pinstripe, some 45 logos on the side of the car, which are a bit questionable if you ask me, and a gloss black roof. Furthermore, this car also features the Akrapovic exhaust fitted to it from factory and Servotronic, which is basically a power assisted steering system that weights up as the speed of the car increases. But also you can go from lock to lock with just one turn of the steering wheel.
The interior is pretty much in line with all other Golf Mark 8s. You start from the base car, you get a different upholstery depending on the model you've chosen, some specific dials and an accent color. In this case you have the same seats as the standard GTI and the R for that matter, but you get this quite cool honeycomb lookalike upholstery. The seats are covered in Alcantara in the middle, some leather on the side, and the GT logo sits proudly on the headrest. The accent color is, you've guessed it, red. The digital instrument cluster is taken straight from the standard GTI, and the steering wheel features a tiny 45 logo at the bottom. Driving position is pretty good, the seats are super comfortable and supporting, but the rest is, as I've said, standard Golf interior.
I've been lucky enough to drive all the fast Golfs that derived from the Mark 8. I drove the standard GTI, the GTE, the R, and now finally the Clubsport. And while the standard GTI was disappointing to me, the Golf R knocked it out of the park. I absolutely loved driving that car. So when I finally got confirmation that I was gonna drive this Clubsport, I said to myself, that's gonna be a really good GTI to drive, but it can't possibly beat the R, can it? It turns out it can actually. Now this car has 300 horsepower, nearly as much as the Golf R, and the first question I had was, can the front wheels handle all that power and torque and do the steering properly?
But VW's wizards have worked their magic on this Clubsport, and that front diffs works wonders. There's hardly any torque steer, very little understeer, and turn-in is quite sharp. The suspension is another highlight of this package. It's very similar set up as the one in the Golf R. It's noticeably firmer than the standard GTI, but even in the most aggressive driving mode, it doesn't feel too harsh.
The car feels very alive when you drive it fast. It's quite eager to turn in, very prone to lift off oversteer, and overall, it's so much fun to drive. I still find it quite hard to believe how easy the front wheels can deal with all that power and the steering at the same time. I mean, chuck it into a bend, apply silly amounts of throttle, and the car just deals with it, and it just slingshot you out of that corner at quite silly speeds. So how does this car compare to the Golf R? Well, first off, it has less driving modes, and thank God for that. No more race modes, no more Nürburgring mode, no. Plain and simple, eco, comfort, sport. Bada bim, bada boom.
Unfortunately, the Clubsport doesn't feature the same awesome gearshift pedals as the Golf R, so you're left with these tiny ones from the standard Golf. They're not as tactile, they feel quite cheap, and they take a bit away from the fun of changing gears like an air quote F1 driver.
What about power? Can you tell the difference between the two cars? Well, not really, to be honest. I know the specs suggest that the Golf R is 1 second faster to 100 km per hour than the Clubsport, but then again, that's with a launch from standstill, and because the Golf R has a four-wheel drive system, it obviously launches better. But once you're up to speed, there's really no difference in the power and power delivery between these two cars. Now, the final reason why I think the Clubsport is a better buy than the Golf R is, you've probably guessed it, pricing.
Even though in Sweden the 45-year edition Clubsport is about 6,000 euros more expensive than the standard Clubsport, the Golf R is still 1,500 euros more expensive than that. And while the 45-year edition features the Akrapovic exhaust as standard, it is a 4,500 euro optional extra on the R. So the price difference increases as you start adding options. To be honest, if I were looking for a fast Golf at the moment, I would simply choose the standard Clubsport car and be done with it. At the end of the day, you don't lose any of the driving characteristics if you don't pick the 45-year anniversary package.
But let me know your thoughts regarding these two cars in the comment section down below. Which of these two cars do you think is a better buy if you're looking for a proper hot hatch experience? That's been it for today's video, my friends. I really hope you've enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you have. It also pleases YouTube's algorithm. And make sure you're subscribed for plenty more videos to come.